So here we are again in my car. I have a lot of thoughts. When I think I was just out of university, I had an amazing T-shirt. It had two pencils, and the words on the T-shirt said, "This machine kills fascists." I saw that again today online, and a clip came up of some protesters in Minneapolis, obviously protesting ICE in their city and the horrors that are happening there because, well, fascism. And there were a bunch of drummers on the side of the road and they were drumming in protest. And I was reminded of that T-shirt because the whole point of the T-shirt is those pencils symbolize words, writing, recording. It's about protest. It's about art. It's about using one's voice to speak up. You know, we see what's happening in the US and around the world, and we feel like our voices don't matter, and we feel like it's hard to speak up, and we feel like it's not going to make any difference while everything seems to be falling apart. I was in the US recently, spent some time in La Jolla, and even though I didn't see much ICE activity or things going down there, I was acutely aware of just a sense of tension in the air. And a friend of mine who lives in the US responded to a post that I put out, and he replied, "You really can feel the tension." I became more acutely aware of it on the way home as I stopped over in Atlanta for a day. Kind of spent majority of that day just walking around, and I was struck by a lot of the street art. There were lots of fuck ICE, fuck Trump, fuck fascism slogans that were being put out there. But then there were also ones where other folk had kind of tried to spray out parts of those protest works of art. And I was just struck by how polarized our society is. I think we need to learn to speak out, be brave, and use our voices or whatever it is we have, even if that means we quiver and we shake. There are people, ordinary people like you and me, we've all seen the horrific footage, who are getting shot by ICE for simply standing up. We hear people spinning lies about what's really happening. But I don't think we must become hopeless. You know, here in South Africa, we have neighborhood WhatsApp groups. And I was reminded again about how important it is to speak up for things. Last little while, our neighborhood WhatsApp group has had what I would say subliminal and subtle racism creeping into people's comments, especially when talking about the states of our cities, states of South Africa, things like crime. All the reports of suspicious people in our area on those WhatsApp groups are always about folk of color, mainly black men who are profiled. And I've just decided I'm not going to let stuff like that fly. I've spoken up. I've used my voice. I've become unpopular on that group. I had an experience the other day in the KFC. Big white guy had stuffed up his order on the self-ordering screen that's there, and he'd made the error. But typical, tall, physically strong, imposing, patriarchal white man towered over a black woman who was behind the counter, essentially gaslit her, shifted the blame for his mistake onto her, was talking down to her. Now, if you know me, I'm not one for public spaces anyway and for being around people, but I don't want to be a bystander. And I took him on and I quivered because he was a big Afrikaans guy. And those of you who are from South Africa or know anything about South Africa, big Afrikaans guys can be scary, especially ones who have a temper. But I quivered and I stepped in and I said something and I offered support to the woman behind the counter who clearly felt unsafe. And I realized again, we have to use our voice. We have to stand up. If anyone is going to change what's happening in the world, we cannot just keep quiet. We have to speak up. We have to stand up. We need to be brave and we have to stand together, because I do believe there are more good people out there than bad people. And our words, our deeds, our art, our voice, whatever we can put out there in the world, whatever we have in our hands, can kill fascists. And not in the literal sense, of course. But that kind of thinking has no place in the world right now. I think of organizations like FIFA who could cancel the World Cup in the US to make a point. They won't, because it's all about money and they don't give a shit about the least of these. I think about the Springbok rugby team who have decided to play their fourth test later this year against New Zealand in the US. But if they really wanted to show real moral fortitude, they would cancel that fourth test. Because to see the shit that's going on and not do anything about it says something about people. And I'm not telling you to do it in a certain way. I'm not telling you to start a podcast. I'm not telling you to rant online. There are enough of those of us who do. But in small ways, stand up for people who might not have the voice that you have, because I think it does make a difference. And I think the more of us who stand up to the bullies in this world, because Yolanda and I often talk, and we always wonder, why does the arsehole always win? Why do the bullies, why do they always seem to come out on top? And that can get us down. Use your voice. Speak up. Don't remain silent. Don't be a bystander as the world falls apart. Don't let history repeat itself.